You'll never bring water back. Watch me." They exiled Lina to the edge of the valley, where the riverbed snaked through dust and the broken dams loomed like tombstones. The old waterworks had failed decades ago. Cracked concrete, rusted gates, shattered spillways. The city above whispered, "Let her try. It's only a matter of time before the desert wins." Lina arrived with a pack full of tools, blueprints scrawled on scavenged paper, and a stubborn glint in her eye. She remembered when the river ran clear, when children played on wet stones and gardens bloomed by the hundreds. Now, brittle weeds choked the sand and wind rattled through empty pipes. But Lina knelt by the silent channel, pressed her palm to the hot earth, and whispered her promise. "You fed us once, you'll flow again." The work began in solitude. Lina mapped the ruins, measuring cracks, cataloging debris, searching for any sign of a spring or seep still fighting beneath the surface. She unearthed a corroded wrench from the mud, found a trickle of water pooling beneath the oldest dam, and followed it by lantern light into a labyrinth of tunnels. Her days blurred with effort, clearing blockages, patching leaks with tar and clay, prying open rusted gates. At night, she slept in the shadow of the dam wall, soothed by the faint sound of dripping water. The city's people doubted her, until the day a shepherd spotted a shimmer on the dry plain. A thin thread of water crept along the old channel, glinting in the sun. Lina grinned, hands raw but hopeful. The first sign? Proof the river remembered its way. The trickle became a flow, and Lina's resolve spread. A handful of farmers wandered down from the hills, curious and skeptical. She showed them the patched leaks, the cleared silt, the makeshift filter woven from reeds. Together, they dug out old irrigation ditches, stacking stones to slow the water's loss. Children from the outskirts came with buckets, eager to help, and carried news back to the city. "Water's coming back. She's doing it." But storms tested every gain. One night, a flash flood tore through the lower dam, undoing days of work and nearly sweeping Lina away. She refused to quit. With scraped knees and muddy hair, she rallied her helpers and rebuilt the breach stronger than before. By the first full moon, pools shimmered in hollows that had been dry for years. Gardens began to sprout in the dust. With every new trickle, hope returned. The old dam's reservoir, once choked with weeds and trash, began to fill with clear water. Lina taught the farmers how to build floating booms to catch debris and reeds to filter the water naturally. Together, they seeded native grasses on the banks, their roots holding soil against the wind and rain. A retired engineer, drawn by rumors of Lina's work, arrived with a toolbox and stories of the dam's glory days. He taught Lina how to restore a broken sluice gate and how to read the shifting pressure in the walls. Villagers who once scoffed now offered tools, old pipes, and a willingness to dig. Every evening, Lina led a circle by lantern light, planning, teaching, and reminding everyone, it's not just about water, it's about what grows next. The community thrived as the river widened. Fields long abandoned came alive with green. Children splashed in shallow pools, elders walked barefoot through damp meadows, and songs echoed over the dam at dusk. But the work was never easy. A drought hit, drying the river to a ribbon. The team rationed water, set up catchment barrels, and experimented with drought-resistant crops. A quarrel broke out. Some wanted to sell water to the city for profit, others insisted it remain free. Lina called a meeting under the dam wall, her voice steady. "We rebuild this place for all. If we trade away our hope, we lose what brought us here." After a long night, consensus returned. No one would be left thirsty. Word of Lina's valley spread far and wide. Travelers and refugees arrived, bringing seeds, stories, and skills from parched towns. A young teacher opened a school under an old acacia tree, teaching both children and adults the science of water and soil. Engineers brought windmills for pumps, carpenters built bridges over the new streams, and artists painted murals on the dam's walls, celebrating the return of life. Lina kept working, inspecting sluices, mending pipes, planting willows along the banks. She trained new leaders, shared her journals, and insisted that every child know how to tend a garden and repair a leak. The valley's water was no longer a miracle, but the fruit of many hands. Where there was once exile, now there was home. The first summer of the new river brought a harvest like no one had seen in years. Wheat swayed beside the banks, melons and gourds tumbled down the terraces, and beehives buzzed with life. A festival bloomed around the dam. Music, food, and children racing in the shallows. Lina, now respected as both builder and leader, watched with a heart full of pride. But change brings new challenges. City officials arrived, papers in hand, demanding taxes and control over the water. Lina stood firm at the dam gates. This water was dead. We brought it back. We share with those who work and respect the valley. No more, no less. The officials threatened, then backed down, seeing the community united and prepared. As autumn arrived, the valley saw its first migratory birds in decades. People kept arriving, some fleeing drought, others seeking hope. A doctor set up a clinic in an abandoned house. A mason rebuilt bridges with stone and willow. A severe storm tested every repair. The river rose, battered the new levees, and tore away a footbridge. Lina and her team worked through the night, stacking sandbags, reinforcing the banks, and rescuing neighbors from flooded homes. Afterward, the valley held a meeting, grateful but aware of their vulnerability. They decided to expand the dam, build higher terraces, and start a fund for emergencies. No one would be caught unprepared again. Winter came quietly, with frost glinting on the new ponds. Lina spent evenings teaching children how to read old blueprints, telling stories of the river's first return. The village was now a patchwork of languages and faces, all drawn by the promise of water and shared work. In the new school, a mural of the dam depicted Lina surrounded by the hands of everyone who rebuilt alongside her. By the firelight, she wrote in her journal, "We came here alone. We stay together. As long as the water runs, hope will too." And in the quiet night, the sound of flowing water was the valley's lullaby. Proof that a single promise could change a world. With each new season, the valley's transformation grew clearer. The reservoir sparkled, reflecting fruit trees blooming along the banks. Caravans from distant settlements came to trade seeds, tools, and news. Lina welcomed everyone, making sure the old exile's boundary never returned. A new challenge arose. A pest infestation threatened the crops. Rather than panic, the community responded together. Farmers introduced ducks to patrol the rice paddies. The teacher organized a group of students to track insect populations, and herbalists brewed natural repellents. Each solution was tested, shared, and improved. The valley's resilience grew not just from water, but from its people. Spring rains tested everything they'd built. A flash flood barreled down the river, pounding the dam's walls and spilling into fields. But this time, the floodgates held strong. The new terraces slowed the rush, and neighbors worked side by side, shoring up weak points. In the aftermath, Lina and her council held a festival of gratitude, dedicating a new grove to those who gave their best when the water threatened again. A visitor from the city marveled. "How did you do all this?" A young girl replied, "We learned from the river. Move together, never break." Lina began to step back, encouraging the next generation to lead. A team of apprentices learned to repair sluice gates and monitor water flow. A new engineer was elected to the council, proposing solar pumps and a series of connected rain gardens. The community continued to grow, artists painting the dam with scenes of water, hope, and unity. A bakery rising where dry weeds once grew. Lina watched with pride as those who came after her improved on every design and built new traditions. Every spring, the valley gathered at the dam to celebrate not just the return of water, but the spirit that made it possible. The exile was long forgotten. Only the river's song remained. The valley became a model for others. Travelers arrived from far-off deserts and abandoned cities, hoping to learn how broken dams could be revived. Lina and her apprentices hosted workshops, teaching everything from patching leaks to building trust among strangers. New villages sprang up downstream, linked by the flowing river and the promise of a shared future. Canals and irrigation ditches threaded through parched land, each one a lifeline built with calloused hands and stubborn hope. In time, Lina's journals were copied and passed along, filled with sketches, failures, and every lesson she'd learned. The valley's story was no longer about exile, but about restoration, a cycle that kept turning as long as people worked together. A crisis tested them all. A long drought struck the region. Water dwindled, wells dried up, and old rivalries resurfaced. Some called for rationing, others for closing the valley's gates. But Lina and the council called a meeting by the dam, inviting every voice to speak. We survived alone before, but now we survive together, Lina said. Water flows best when it's shared. The community agreed to ration fairly, pool resources, and help neighboring settlements instead of hoarding. Hard months followed, but no one went hungry or thirsty. By the time the rains returned, the valley's unity was stronger than ever. Lina's legend grew with the water's song. She was now called the River Mother by children and elders alike. Her hair silvered, her pace slowed, but her mind remained sharp and her vision clear. The dam's wall bore a mural of every face who had ever helped bring back the water, hundreds strong and growing each season. Each year, Lina planted a tree on the bank, a living marker of the promise she'd made and kept. The valley flourished, new homes, new families, new festivals, and new hope rising with every sunrise. And Lina knew that as long as the water ran, her story and the story of the valley would never end. Years passed, and Lina's valley became a beacon in the region, a place where exile had become welcome and scarcity had been turned into abundance through shared hands. The annual water festival drew thousands. Boats and carts lined the roads, musicians filled the air with song, and elders retold the story of how the river returned. Children played along the canals, fishing and splashing in water that was once only a dream. Artists painted new murals each season, depicting the broken dams as they once were, and the vibrant community that now thrived around them. New challenges still came. An earthquake cracked one of the oldest spillways, but apprentices, now masters in their own right, worked day and night, mending with stone and hope. Engineers from distant lands brought new technologies: solar-powered pumps, floating gardens, water-saving irrigation. The Valley Council, now led by Lina's students, debated and welcomed every idea, always remembering the old lesson: work together, share hope, and never let the river run dry alone. Lina, now aged and peaceful, watched from her porch as the village, once only an exile's dream, became a living, thriving legacy. Lina's final years were filled with teaching, storytelling, and the gentle joy of watching others lead. She mentored new leaders, taught children to mend pipes and test the river's flow, and wrote letters to distant settlements, encouraging them to look for water where others see only stone. Her journals became required reading for every child. The annual planting of trees at the dam became a ritual, each sapling named for a lesson learned, a hardship overcome, or a friend remembered. One spring, Lina called the whole valley together for a celebration at the dam. She spoke quietly, but every voice fell silent to hear her. The water was never just for me. It was always for us, all of us together. Promise me you'll never stop welcoming the next hand that comes to help. Promise me you'll always trust the river and each other. That night, under lanterns strung across the dam, the valley sang Lina's song, Hope Carried on Water and Wind. When Lina passed, the whole valley mourned, but also celebrated. They gathered at the dam, every villager and visitor holding a lantern and a cup of clear water. Children launched flower wreaths and new saplings onto the current, letting the river carry Lina's memory to every settlement downstream. A statue of Lina, cast from river stones, was placed by the highest gate, her hand resting on the dam, her eyes always on the flowing water. Every year, on Water Festival Day, the valley retells her story. How she answered, "Watch me," how she refused to leave the river behind, and how she built a world where water meant life and hope meant everyone. And so the valley flourished, a patchwork of homes, gardens, songs, and living water. Wherever a river ran, Lina's story ran with it.